Hello everybody and welcome back to Encounter Roleplay. My name is Will, I'm a D&D sex icon, and I'm back today with another episode of Call of Cthulhu Doors to Darkness. We don't have the full cast and crew with us today. Why, you ask? Because I've murdered them in real life. Greg and Lindy were going to not be here today and be terrible friends, which couldn't be allowed because they were going to Gen Con today. So that's just, it was unacceptable to me. I saw to the end of them for being terrible friends, and that is the punishment which I expect everyone to go under if they don't turn up to a D&D session. But we've got the rest of the guys here who are alive and well for now. Let's go around the cast and crew, let's figure out who we are and who we're playing. We've got Tom, Redundant UK, with us tonight. How's it going, my friend?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Incidentally, that's the reason why we're all still here, because Will gave us the ultimatum that if you leave, that he will go morally grey all over your ass. So,
right.
So yeah, I'm
Burn
not
your
too
fucking
bad.
World Tree. I run a show called World Tree Burns. Are you kidding?
Exactly.
Like, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Not too bad at all. Excited to play Sloane again, the mystic madman who is somewhat pissed off. I think we're all somewhat pissed off a certain southern gentleman. Yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see what we can come up with to stab the guy in the head.
I like it. I like it. We also have with us tonight Don. How's it going, Don?
I'm great. I'm excited to be here. I'm a little scared that a couple of our friends are forever gone, apparently. And I also think, hey, maybe Martin Poole's like misunderstood. Maybe we should give him another chance, guys.
Yeah,
I
definitely think so. Maybe just one more chance. He's been misunderstood all of his life, and hopefully you guys can understand him and bring him into the family, into the fold, and it'll just be a happily ever after for you guys. Super excited for it. We also have Pruitt with us tonight. Pruitt, how's it going, my friend?
Hey, things are good, Will, like they always are. You know, just showing up like I always do, and I always will.
That's right.
Never gonna miss a session ever. No. I'm Pruitt, and I'm going to be playing Seth Penhollow, everyone's favorite cowardly book dealer. Seth is on the verge of insanity, if not already there. He's got at least 2 toes dipped in the pool, and I can't wait to see if he takes the plunge today. If not, oh well, we'll come back next week, but I can't wait to see how far he goes off the deep end, to continue that analogy.
Absolutely. Well, my friends, I, of course, will be your keeper of arcane lore and murderer of absent players. I'll remind you guys what happened last time on the show in just a few moments' time, but before I do so, I'll remind you guys all in chat that we're here, sponsored today by fantasygrounds.com, our virtual tabletop of choice where you can play Call of Cthulhu, D&D, and 100 other tabletop role-playing games. You can try out the free demo license to try it out, and their first licenses start at just $4. So go ahead and check out Fantasy Grounds. Also, whalengames.co.uk is a go-to destination for all of your tabletop needs, whether they be board games, war games, role-playing games. They sell them all over there, up to 20% off the retail value, so definitely go and check those guys out. And of course, you guys can interact with today's show. If you haven't followed yet, hit the follow button and join us. We hit 20 followers today. You guys get to decide something which happens next in our campaign. Also, here is a tweet for you guys as well. Same deal at 20 retweets. And of course, at any point during the day, you guys can donate to affect the game as well by giving players nat 1s, nat 20s, wild magic surges, and worse. Warbit has already given a nat 20 to Seth. I think 2 nat 20s to Seth, and 2 wild magic surges to Mr. Coke himself, Mr. Delgado, and Dave has given a wild magic surge from Mr. Poole and a nat 20 to Lewis. So we'll see how that works out for Poole. So far, all the wild magic surges have only empowered our good friend, Mr. Martin Poole. But I'll get into it here. Let's remind you guys what happened last week on the show on a very eventful episode of Doors to Darkness. The party were in Castle Berger, and they walked into darkness. They walked into many different doors of darkness, and terrible things happened to them. It was revealed that Sloane is the child of Lieutenant Martin Poole, and is in fact his firstborn son. And that Poole has a wish, a desire for Sloane to kill him and to take over his empire and throne on the 10th day of the 10 plagues of Egypt, which are currently being placed upon the world. it was also revealed to everyone else that, of course, Sloane is his child, and they are being sent back in order for Sloane to prove himself to Poole that he could be worthy of that throne. The rest of the players had some very interesting moments or visions. Lewis's mother was revealed to be Baba Yaga, and she has a very interesting and definitely toxic relationship with her son Lewis. Seth had a vision of his bookshop where he ended up murdering this woman named Gracie Lou and trying to turn a gun on Lieutenant Martin Poole. It was perhaps an unwise decision, but at least he fought at the very end before he was taken. And we're going to pick up our game with the party beginning in a room. But before we do that, let's get to some wild magic surges to kick things off today. Who got a wild magic surge here? I think that was Lewis.
I got a couple of them.
Alrighty. Thanks, perfect. I'm going to roll for Mr. Poole. He rolled 282, and that is anyone in Mr. Poole's presence thinks that he represents True North. True North. So when you see Mr. Poole, he represents he's like a Northern Star, man. He's
our guiding star.
He always guides you home. That's amazing. Always getting more powerful. Let's see, for Lewis, 2489 on the wild magics. You, my friend, each day you demand to be called by a different name. That kind of fits into your identity crisis that Lewis is having right now. Losing sanity and losing who he really is. So that works pretty well, actually. And then 2, 3, 4, 6. Your spellbook induces madness in lows of lawful alignment. Well, first of all, fuck alignment. Your spellbook may be like your checkbook. Something along those lines. And Fidel gives 2 nat 20s to Lewis from Mama Baga. I like that. Mama coming in clutch. All right, I'll add those nat 20s here in just a few seconds' time, but I'm going to hand over to the players. You guys will find yourselves coming out from your individual... God damn it, internet. Really today? All right. You guys will come out of your individual visions and find yourselves in a house. The house looks old and decrepit, and it's one that Sloane will remember as being his home. This is young Matthew's bedroom that you're in, though clearly it hasn't seen any care for a very long time. Whilst before in your vision, Matthew, it was dark and there was blackness outside, right now the sun is streaming through a window and you can hear the sound of nature outside. The garden itself is overgrown and unkempt, but you're fairly certain you're back. As you look out into the sky, there is a normal sun there, and the 3 of you find yourselves in this room.
Well, hello, Mr. Sloane. It's good to see you, alive and well.
Where are we? Wait, we've been here, but we haven't. No.
You are in Matthew.
Super quiet, Tom. Can't even hear you. All good.
I don't know where we are, Seth, but I'm glad you made it through.
Oh God, yes. No, I killed her. Oh, no, it wasn't. That wasn't real. Wasn't real, was it? Was that judgment coming for us? Did it come for you, Mr. Delgado?
Please. And Lewis approaches Seth, puts a hand on his shoulder. I've grown tired of my name. Call me just the banker.
Oh, yes, sir.
I will
Yes,
also accept,
Banker.
sir.
Yes, sir. Did you see something? Did you go through a trial?
I did, in a fashion, but nothing that I wasn't capable of handling. Are you all right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm alive, but I think judgment is still en route. I thought that was it. I thought I was dead. I thought I was... No. It was Poole. Was he there for you too?
No. What did you see, Mr. Penhollow?
I was back home. I was in my shop. But they wanted my books. They wanted the books I had written, but they were mine. And they wanted to give me fame, but I don't want fame. I want power. And I took it. I took my books back. I tried to break free of Poole, but it was his workings. So I was impotent. I was powerless. And then he laughed at me as it all just kind of faded away.
Well, you're here now. Everything's all right, Seth. He turns his eyes to Sloane. Sloane, where are we?
We are in Matthew's old room. And he'll turn and look at you two. You must be Luis Delgato and Seth. Mildred told me a little about you.
Please. The banker.
The banker, as you wish.
He's the money man, so he's the banker.
You went to the castle, yes? To join the symphony, yes?
Well, yeah, we were trying to infiltrate them, to take them down from within, right, banker? That's what was the goal.
That's right. Sometimes to slay the dragon, you must dive down its gullet and devour its heart from the inside. That is what we were doing.
I see. And did you jump down the gullet?
So to speak.
I think we're all three of us down there right now.
Why do I know this place?
As I said, it is Matthew's bedroom. From a long, long time ago. And Sloane would kind of like gently wipe some dust off her, kind of like a ruined dresser, and
It's like a dream. I feel like I've been here.
Where are the others? Where is Father Carmine and Mildred? Did they not make it?
I do not know. Tell me, what was the last thing that you remember?
No.
Before appearing here.
I was in a nightmare.
Hmm.
One of Poole's making. I'm sure of it. Judgment's gonna come, but it won't come from him. No.
We went through a door. Each of us had our own experience. It was supposed to be part of the joining ceremony. We had to pass a test. I did not expect to end up here, though.
What?
And what was your test, banker?
Well, that is my business. Nothing need concern you.
Very well.
How did you end up here?
And he gives a small, sly smirk. I walked through a door.
I think we all did. I remember. Door.
Will, are there any doors in this room?
Certainly, yeah. There's a simple-looking door. There's also windows out of here. That they open up.
Perhaps we should look around. There is a reason we were sent here.
Yes. Did you see Poole also, Mr. Sloane?
I spoke to him, yes.
What was... Did you have to pass a test?
No.
Maybe we should, like the banker said, we should look around. We should see what we can do about this place.
And Seth's gonna go look out a window, just kind of see what does it look like outside right now.
It looks like a little meadow outside, which has become really overgrown. The house itself has, vines and ivy have encroached upon its territory and seem to be hugging the house. But it looks like, kind of like countryside outside, right? There's farmland in the distance, a lot of nature and wildlife. Quite pleasant.
Sloane's going to look around Matthew's room, see if there's anything he can find of interest. Specifically, it's a very, very long shot, but he's looking for something similar to laudanum.
Sure, you can always spot hidden.
Alright, here we go. Nope, I missed. I fail. 81. I don't see anything.
It looks like anything that was once here has been either rotted away or lost under dust, or maybe even repossessed as it's been abandoned. Looks like probably kids have been over here in the years in the abandoned house, that kind of thing.
We hear high kids outside.
Mr. Sloane, do you not remember Seth and I at all?
I'm glad you asked that, banker.
I have never met you. No.
Interesting.
But
And Seth looks like he's about to just spill the beans on the fact that that's not true, but he's looking at the banker to be
Sloane raises his hand to calm Seth down. Mildred explained to me the previous Sloane and what you have all been through. I myself have never met you two, but I am sure another version of me has.
A version? Another version?
Yes. Do you
Is there
not
another
remember?
version of me?
Perhaps. You did come back, didn't you? From the future that you all experienced? To change it.
Yes.
Although, unlike Mr. Sloane, we did not die.
It's true.
No.
Don't worry, Sloane. We won't let you die again. You're safe with us.
Well, and we'll protect you. Yes.
I feel a lot better already.
What did Martin Poole say to you, Sloane? Anything that might help us in our current situation?
In our current situation, no. Nothing to help us. Although I do believe that our main goal should be to eliminate him. And as he says that, he almost, you can see him grit his teeth and almost his eye twitch as he kind of looks down and goes back up and shakes his head.
Is that such a thing even possible? The things that he can do, how can we fight that?
It is a simple case of researching your enemy. Did he not say that he wanted to plaster his name through history? There should be many books out there about him. And perhaps the more we learn, the more we'll find a weakness.
Research, I can do that.
Yes, I do know.
I'm good at
that
research.
much. Yes.
I think we're going to need a weapon.
Yes. Yes, we are. We all need to work together to find something to defeat him.
Are you still in possession of the Necronomicon, the book?
No. That was taken from me.
And who took it?
In the room that you discovered me in, Martin Poole had just finished torturing me. He discovered the location of the Necronomicon and left. So unless he has dawdled, which I don't think he would, I imagine he went straight to get it. Although it is in a rather difficult place to find.
Where's that?
And he looks at Seth and kind of raises an eyebrow and looks back and just smirks.
Perhaps we don't need to fight Martin Poole. Perhaps we just have to get to the book before he does.
And then do what?
Well, I am no expert on occult magics, but between the two of you, I have a feeling we can figure something out.
Is that not what you did previously with the good Father Carmine? You had the Necronomicon in your possession then, and the future was not so bright.
Well,
the difference
I think he was... Go ahead.
The difference between the past and the present is that you did not trust us in the past, Mr. Sloane. You went off on your own and created a chain of events that ended in Martin Poole's monstrosity, a utopic vision of the future that does not fit with my own or yours.
There's a knock on the door around this point. And you see coming through the bushes, it looks like a postman is very courageously beating away at plants to get to the door, and has a quick kind of rat-a-tat-tat on the door.
Sloane's gonna go to the hall and see if there are any, like, there's a pile of mail. Like, just push.
Oh yeah,
there is.
There's a pile. The postman doesn't wait long, maybe like 5 seconds, and just like thrusts the mail in through the letterbox. And a what looks to be like a really nice card, handwritten, floats its way onto the top of the pile of mail.
Sloane's gonna walk over slowly and examine the mail. Notably, the main envelope on the top.
Yeah, the envelope itself is addressed to my son, and is written in a very nice hand.
Sloane will open it.
It's an invitation to an art gallery, the Remington Arts Gallery in London.
He'll put it in his. He'll put it in his pocket and then just examine the other mail, see if anything jumps out.
Nothing interesting in there. It's standard like spam mail already. Just a cruise. Yeah.
But Seth's gonna go down and start sifting through it until he finds like some kind of like community letter, maybe something like that. Look, I'm looking for something with the date on it.
Sure.
Like one of the more recent at the top of the pile.
Yep. Yeah, they're all dated. And this would date you back to pretty much almost exactly when you left. So presumably, you're on like day 8, which is locusts.
Do not go outside. We are back. We're here. It's not
Yes.
long now.
And we do know where Pool will be.
In London?
Yes. Yes, in London.
Do either of us actually notice the fact that it says that it's like addressed to my son?
Well, I didn't necessarily show you the envelope.
Oh, okay.
So probably not. I put it away. So,
Okay.
yeah.
You could roll me like a also sleight of hand in Call of Cthulhu. I don't even know.
Sleight of
what?
hand.
He's gonna try and
Sleight of hand,
steal
is that
it
skill?
from me.
Yeah,
That's
roll a
an
sleight of
actual
hand.
skill. Yeah.
Yes, for Sloane, you can roll me that to like, hide away the envelope before anyone else sees.
All right. Well, I didn't really. Okay, I'll give it a go. Nope. 97. I go.
Yeah, you're gonna like try and slyly like sip it away. You just thrust it in her face.
Yeah.
They'll
I
never
hold
see
it up
what's
to
in
the
it.
light to have a look inside, and then I just put it away. It wasn't so
The
subtle.
banker pretends not to notice that he saw the address on the letter.
So do we think we should go there now? I mean,
I would
we're
rather.
on day 8. How long will it take to get there? Well, when will the end be here?
It should take a few hours, if my memory serves me. I'm guessing that will.
Yeah, you certainly don't have a car, but you can get a train. The train station isn't far from here. You can get it down to London.
I still think that we should go after the book before we confront Martin.
Yes, I do not wish to confront Martin Poole unprepared. I believe we should research him more. See what we can find out about him.
Yeah, I could do that. Yes. Where should we do this research? Where's the...
There are many libraries in London. I'm sure you will enjoy yourself, Seth.
But I've always wanted to visit. I've never had the opportunity. The funds, really. Would be an honor. Yes, let's to the library. Huzzah.
Huzzah.
Quite.
Cool. So you guys can head out from the house and make like a 20-minute walk down to the train station. The world is in pretty much mass hysteria still due to the plagues of Egypt coming to life. But nonetheless, people are going into their jobs and going into work. It's pretty early, so it's like 7:30 by the time you get down to the train station, and the trains are fairly regular. As you get down to the train station, everybody can roll me a wild magic surge. Thank you, Dave.
Hey.
Nothing bad ever happens at libraries or on trains, as we know to be true with Call of Cthulhu.
Almost finally happened. I rolled 4076. Almost my favorite MASH unit of the 4077.
Any metal weapons that wound Seth vanish for 1d4 rounds. Cool.
Oh, that's kind of...
That's useful.
Yeah.
Okay. Lewis, at some point in every battle, you completely disarm yourself.
What?
At some point, Sluis completely
Evidently.
disarms herself.
He gets clumsy.
Interesting.
So that was
and-
1d4? 1d4 rounds?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And you, Sloane, assert that the wages of sin are not really death. The wages of sin aren't really death. Interesting.
I have no idea what that means.
Well, it's judgment, not death.
Judgment Day, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, something to do with that.
I'm just staying in character, though.
Okay, so you guys get down to the train station, and it's going to take you a couple of hours to get down to, Greater London. Whereabouts are you headed in London? Just any library in particular?
No, let's go to the big one. Let's go to the main library. The whatever it's called in London. What's it called?
Oh god, the
What's it
National-
called? Something like that.
Let's see. I'll
The
Google it.
big one. The
The
big, one.
The British Library. The British Library is the National Library of the UK.
The British
Um,
National Library.
The British National.
Did you just say the National
No.
Library of UKIP?
Yeah, that's the British National. It sounds like really like white right wing kind of groups. Yeah. But no, you enter into a bustling London, which is filled with doomsayers on the streets who are preaching for the end of the world. The papers are all over the end of the world, the apocalypse. Some people are just heads down, just trying to get into work. A lot of people are going to churches, are overflowing with people. Some people are going into libraries to search for the answers in old books. Pretty much across London, you have people preparing for what could very well be the end of the world. Some people are just staying at home, obviously, and with their families. But you guys enter into London and come to the British Library. You enter into the halls of the library, and you have free reign to look into whatever you'd like to look into.
Okay. Yeah, the whole way down here, every time they pass a doomsayer, saying the end is nigh, Seth will just kind of pipe in, the end is nigh, end is nigh, just saying hi back to him.
Yep.
But when we actually get into the library, y'all would maybe notice Seth calm down a little bit, and he puts his handkerchief away, and is actually almost normal again, as he immediately okay, so that, and he starts looking at the signs of where everything should be. Because this is a library and this is his domain. So I'm going to use library use to immediately start looking for the occult, anything specific to the symphony or Martin Poole.
Okay.
I got a regular success.
Lewis is gonna stick close to Seth. He avoids touching anybody, and he has an actively disgusted look on his face when they pass doomsayers or people crying or anybody who's sort of feeling sorry for themselves or the world around them. And he's totally lost in the library, so he just kind of, looking bored, hangs around Seth.
Okay. The library itself, as you get down to the kind of deeper, darker sections of it, which cover the occult, is a lot quieter. There are very few people that are down here at this time. And Steph, you can pretty quickly identify where the occult section is. It's basically a couple of, rows, columns of bookshelves, which are factoring in on the occult. That's not to say that this collection is particularly large. There are rare antique bookstores which are probably more likely to hold specific information, but the British Library has its fair share of spooky tomes as well. Now that you've identified this section, what would you like to look into specifically here?
I want to look for like large occult followings in large. Hang on, let me try to put this into words. Basically, in cities where there have been great calamities, I'm looking for like similar themes as far as the occult goes, as far as like the downfall of different cities and like civilizations, things like that. Like for any kind of reoccurring themes.
Okay, so there are roll me a library use.
Cool.
So we're looking into the sort of history of this.
Boom. So that is a hard success. Do I want to spend 20 luck? No, I'm not going to spend 20 luck. I need it. So I got a hard success though.
Okay, so yeah, you start looking into patterns in history, and particularly in anything that you can find around here. This library is going to take you about 3 hours, by the way, of in-game time. So as you sit down to look into this, what are Sloane and Lewis doing, if anything?
Lewis will stay close to Seth. He's going to keep an eye out, see if he can recognize anybody who might be tailing them. And he keeps checking for his hidden gun. Make sure it's still there. He looks a little nervous.
Let's spot hidden, Lewis.
All right. I fail.
It doesn't seem like anyone's tailing you. Sloane, what would you like to do?
Sloane is specifically going to look for mentions of Martin Poole in history. So, for example, primarily around the occult area. Look for things regarding the symphony, but essentially he's going to focus in on anything to do with Martin Poole, where he's been in history, what his family lineage is, where he's come from, anything and everything to do with Martin Poole. That's what he's going to focus on.
Okay, roll me a spot hidden.
Oh man, not a library use?
Oh, sorry, yeah, library use, what I meant to say.
Yay! Ooh, that is a hard success with a 42.
Okay, so back to Seth on what you've been looking for. There are a fair few mentions throughout history of civilizations rising and falling. Specifically, in this section, you look into the age of the Hyperboreans, which is something that Mildred is actually fairly familiar with as well, being able to speak the language. Their civilization, it seems like, rose incredibly quickly to power, and then all of a sudden one day they were gone, and no one knows exactly how they fell. There are several different theories about how the civilization came to fall, which largely evolve around huge amounts of immigration from various different areas over the course of hundreds of years, where eventually so many groups of people come in to the area in which they were living, and eventually their kind of like civilizations topple and fall. You see similarities in that to that of the Roman Empire as well, in that there are several different theories by historians about why exactly it fell, but it seems like movements of the Goths are to be pointed towards why that eventually ended up happening. As these civilizations go on and come to great deals of power, eventually they fall. Specifically on towns and cities. Most recently, you have Venice, which is said to have undergone like a citywide hysteria, which no one could really explain. And then overnight, it was toppled, which is a quite literal look at a civilization falling and then being rebuilt afterwards. There are definitely patterns in history of these civilizations falling. Nothing which you can specifically put your finger on and say that was definitely the symphony or definitely Poole, but perhaps there are links there. Sloane, you turn up a few things. That the symphony is a term which is used for a fair amount of things in occult writings and through history books. Martin Poole is not a particularly common name, but you do turn up a couple of things about him. that he is some kind of, or at least was some kind of investigator in New York, and is not known to have any, known family or children. Something that I will give you is it looks like history on Poole has been sort of redacted. Pages are missing, that kind of thing. Anything that starts to speak about Poole... Sorry, my internet's a bit janky. Anything that starts to speak about Poole seems like it stops very suddenly and moves on to another topic, as if it's been edited quite specifically. So it's difficult to find much information on him as a person, which you think is possibly intentional.
At one point, Lewis will kind of sit down next to Seth and say, I did learn something, Seth, when we walked through that door, but I want you to keep it between you and I.
Of course. I mean, we've been through so much together. What is it?
Someone told me, someone that I have no reason not to trust, that our Mr. Sloane there is the son of Martin Poole.
The son?
Yes. Interesting.
Then why are we here? Why wouldn't he just tell us? Does he know? Does he even?
And he'll try to talk a little lower, like kind of glancing over at Sloane.
Does he know?
I'm not sure. He plays things close to his chest, but I think we should keep a close eye on him. I'm worried that he is so avoidant about the book. It seems to me that if that's the aim of Martin Poole, if that's the item we know he needs to make his horrific future possible,
Yes.
then getting that item should be our top priority. And he knows where it is.
He wants to do everything but go get it. What's our play here? What do we how do we turn the tables?
Well, as always, I think the first step is just to try reason. We should speak with him. And maybe he's learned something. Have you learned anything useful here?
I mean, I was just looking at, since we're on the cusp of our civilization collapsing, I thought that maybe looking back through history might offer some clues, but nothing definitive. I can't draw a line to say that the symphony did this or that, or what their next step might be. Maybe with what Sloane has found out, we can begin putting pieces together.
I hope so. We know what Martin wants. We know who he's trying to bring back through time and what they want.
Well, if he's the son, and
Seth kind of gets very, stares off into the middle distance for quite a while.
wait a minute, plagues of Egypt. Did you see? The last plague. Does he know if he's the firstborn of Martin Poole?
I don't know that. But I'll tell you what scares me. I am the only child in my family. I do not want to get to that final day.
I'm the only child of mine.
Well then, We should work
I don't know why-
fast.
We only have 2 days. Judgment is coming. Yes, it always is.
You can roll me an idea roll here, sir.
Okay.
Seem to be on sorry.
29. Okay, so that is a hard success.
So, occult knowledge on a symphony, as you're probably cross-referencing with Sloane and Poole, looks to be being redacted, probably purposefully as they write these books. However, Egypt seems like one of the like a good lead that you have, and the Bible, which is a text which has a lot of history about it and a very broad range of books and information on it. Whereas right now you're working with like a reduced pool of information. In the occult section, which isn't very big in the British Library. But you know, like the section on the Bible and that area of history is vast.
Yes, and he'll kind of like, oh my God, Sloane! Look around as he kind of like yells out in the library, Sloane.
Sloane will close a big book he was reading and then head on over. Yes,
Plagues, just like in the Bible. We need to not look at the occult. We need to look at the history of Christianity. We need to look at what they have on the Bible. Don't you see? The plagues, they're coming. They're here. We're almost to the last plague, the firstborn. Are you the firstborn? I am. I'm. The banker says that he is. So what do you think?
As far as I am aware, I am the only born. Yes.
And Seth tries not to like look over at Louis Delgado at that.
Yeah, Lewis is a lot less subtle. He's like,
Perhaps we should look at more religiously historic books, as you suggested then, sir.
Yeah, let's maybe if we work together we can find something. Just draw some conclusions.
Did you find anything in the books that you read?
Nothing definitive that points to the symphony or Martin Poole, no.
Very well, we will continue trying.
Okay. And so yeah, we'll go ahead and move up to look through the card catalog of the Bible.
Absolutely. You head over to that section, and it is huge in comparison. You've got rows and rows and rows of books in here, and it's a little bit more populated in this area of the library. Some people are seeking counsel in the Bible and holy texts as the end of the world draws nigh. There's an old-looking gentleman, perhaps in his 60s or so, who's in a corner, and he's got like 10 different books spread out around him, and he's smoking a big cigar as he reads through several of them. He gives you all a nod as you enter into this area. What would you guys like to look for?
I want to look at the history of the plagues themselves, and basically I want to look to see if there's any trail or trace in history other like a connection to Egypt, but other than Egypt. If this is anything similar to this has happened.
Cool, yeah. Cool, you can run me a library use. Sloane and Lewis, you guys looking into anything?
I think Lewis is just, again, trying to keep an eye out, making sure that nobody's following them, no signs of symphony activity or Caligula activity.
Mm-hmm.
Sloane is going to look for pieces of literature, more specifically to get into the details of the previous plague in Egypt. Like what happened afterwards, what happened during. Are there any similarities to what's going on apart from the obvious plagues? Was there anything that they did? Was there potentially symphony activity back then? So basically trying to get the finite details of when, what happened during that plague.
Cool. Okay. Lewis, you can roll me a spot hidden. Sloane, you can roll me another library use. And go ahead, Seth.
13.
I'm gonna
a hard success.
I'm going to spend 5 luck to make mine a hard success.
Okay. So, for Seth, will you look into anything outside of the Egyptian plagues themselves? There have been a interestingly high amount of recountings of various different plagues after the fact of the biblical sense, which do have some historical merit. Now, reading through these, you can't be entirely sure whether or not this is people wanting to believe that water has turned into blood, or wanting to believe that God is real, and therefore they see things which could be interpreted as biblical, and therefore they write them as if they are. Certainly, you have boils, thunderstorm, hail and fire. You've got locusts, darkness for days. These could be read as eclipses. These could be read as normal thunderstorms, or people just have plagues which are very real. You can find these in Roman history, where they look to the Bible and Christianity as potentially being real and having some merit. There's more than you've got 5 or 6 cases of cultures across history believing that they are undergoing the 10 plagues, and they are always coming from a point of economic depression and religious loss, and feeling the need to point the fact that this culture is going through something bad and linking it to a biblical reason. The reason why we're in this depression is because we've all sinned, because we've been bad, and almost a flagellation of the culture. You've got a fair amount through this,
Okay.
which would confirm your suspicion that maybe this has been done before in other cultures, but on smaller scales. There are almost always religious cults which are either behind this narrative or at least influential in it. They go by various different names. Even you got Egyptian cults and religions, you have Roman ones, even as far back as the Hyperboreans, you have evidence of there being sects of people who really push this idea and belief. As for yourself, Tom, you look into the plagues themselves and what happened before and after.
Yeah, and during and stuff like that.
And during, yeah. I won't recount the Bible story to you over again. It's one you're likely familiar with, but the idea being that mankind have sinned and need to be punished for that sinning is definitely the cause root behind this idea. And afterwards, Egypt obviously reigned for a long time, but you've got a clear waning of Egypt's power in the centuries to come afterwards, which maybe is linked to that. You'll have you'll actually find information on this one cult of Ra, who the Egyptians themselves, this cult, despite not being Christian, despite believing in Egyptian gods, also really believed in these plagues as having been real and having been punished, which is an interesting integration of Christianity into Egyptian religion, which the two are obviously very opposed. And this one cult of Ra seems to be perhaps behind the idea of this plague really having happened in Egypt in a historical sense, rather than just a biblical one.
Okay.
You, Lewis, will notice that the gentleman in the smoking jacket and cigar seems to be paying a fair amount of attention over towards the three of you. He looks over every couple of seconds.
Lewis will approach him with a big smile on his face. Good day. Is there anything I can do for you?
Oh, good day, good day. Francis Urquhart, pleased to meet you.
Oh, Urquhart. You may call me the banker.
Very well. What is it you're looking into today? The end of the world around the corner. Looking to the gods as well, it seems.
Oh yes, just like everyone around us, we are looking for answers in the darkest places. What are you
Well,
doing
you know,
here?
this collection here is only a fraction of what the library itself holds. Many of the pieces are held for members only to look at. Those of us in the know.
Is that right? And what sort of books are in this private collection?
Oh, all sorts, all sorts. Usually the type that the British have taken from colonies over the course of past few hundred years from expeditions across the world. They bring them back and the library deems them to either be too delicate to handle or perhaps even too dangerous.
Fascinating. How could a book be dangerous?
Quite. Well, be surprised, there's things that you'll find in some books from across the realms of the savages. They do write rather imaginatively.
Well, I must say, you have piqued my curiosity, sir. I'm not a member here, but what would I have to do to take a peek at the private collection?
You mentioned that you're a banker. I'm sure you can pay the nominal fee to get inside. I am myself a member and would be happy to vouch on your part. If you might introduce me to those two companions of yours. Perhaps I can help.
Oh, yes, of course. And what is it that you do? What is your profession?
Oh, I am a member of the British Library. I used to be a banker myself too, actually, but I'm long since retired. Now I send a proxy to most of the meetings and, I just sit back and read. It's quite relaxing.
Does Lewis sense any ulterior motives with this guy?
Sure, you can roll me a psychology.
All right. That is a 9. That's an extreme success.
Nice. You get the sense that maybe he knows a little bit more about what's going on here. Hey, and thank you to Dave, who gives a magic item for Sloane and Steph. Thank you, buddy. Yes, you get the sense that maybe he knows a little bit more about what's going on than he might be letting on.
Very well. I'll be happy to pay the nominal fee, whatever it is. Please, if you'll come with me, I'd be happy to introduce you to my friends.
Francis stands up and puts out his cigar and folds up a couple of the books and comes with you.
And as Lewis approaches Seth and Sloane, he'll say with a pointed look, specifically to Seth, "Friends, this is a new fellow that I've just met who believes that we might be interested in his private collection here at the library. His name is Francis Urquhart."
It's pleased to meet you, Mr. And he'll look at the bag. Urquhart, is it?
Yes, Francis, please.
Oh, I'm Seth Penhollow. I'm a book dealer, but I would be most interested to see anything you have on the occult. These dark
The
times.
occult. Fascinating. Yes, there are some pieces down there, though I can't say I've perused them myself. More interested in the Bible, you see. Always had a soft spot for that book. And Mr. Sloane, was it?
That's right.
What a fascinating name. Francis Urquhart, pleasure to meet you. Do you have any business here in London? Assuming that the end of the world isn't coming on our doorstep, then feel free to stop by at my offices if you ever need anything. I might not be there, but my son will be. Right, let's see. Oh, yes, the fee itself is a couple of £100. Is that a problem?
Oh no. let me just write you a check. And he
A banker's draft.
pulls out his checkbook and writes a check and tears the check off and hands it to Urquhart. But because of my wild magic surge earlier, his checks may induce madness in the recipient.
That's amazing. I'm gonna roll a sanity check for our friend.
Because you accidentally wrote too many zeros.
Okay, he rolled a 13, so like for now, he's okay. This may change as he holds on to the check. And he kind of smiles politely and places it into his breast pocket and starts leading you to the library, through the library. You come to a door which has members only private on it, and he lets you guys through. There's like almost like a butler on the other side who checks his credentials, and he explains that the three of you are with him. You enter into what is essentially a smoking room, like a boys' club, and you are let through as various other people are in here, like sipping whiskey, waiting for the end of the world to happen. And he leads you down a flight of stairs into this kind of lower chamber. It's very well lit in here, and there are very few people around. There are a few folks who seem to be identifying things with magnifying glasses around here. Lots of different books. Everyone who's in here is given like a pair of white gloves in order to handle the the precious books. And Urquhart kind of hands these gloves to you guys as well. He gestures to a circular room with a lot of books in it and says, "I'm rather hoping you can find something of interest. It's not often that I have interesting folks down here. Most of the old boys they just invest because it's the done thing, you know." That's amazing, Wobbit. I can make that happen, my friend.
Oh. And Seth will thank them for offering the gloves, but he pulls his own out of his bag.
Sorry, I have to have non-hypoallergenic gloves. I've a condition.
He pulls his own gloves on.
Of course. Now, what was it you were looking for specifically?
Well, and he kind of looks over at Sloane.
What are we looking for here?
We are looking for anything to do with the plagues, the symphony, or Martin Poole.
Oh, he raises his eyebrows in recognition. Are you now? Let us speak privately for a second. And he like clicks a
Internet.
He clicked his fingers and the internet stopped.
Sorry,
Will
but
has
being all sorts of a day today.
Dude, that was awesome. You
It
had
was
magic
great
powers.
timing.
You were like
Great
literally like
timing.
snapped fingers and froze. Time stop.
I'm a fucking wizard. He clicks his fingers, and everyone else sort of like looks up and moves out of the room. As this happens, Lewis, you can roll me 3 wild magic surges from his Reaver. Now for my next trick, I will make my Wi-Fi disappear. Oh dear, oh dear. Alright, I will look these up in just a second here.
Cast time stop, but only for yourself.
Only for yourself. It's super unhelpful.
It's really a curse, actually.
All right, there. Let's see. 6123 for Lewis is you are invulnerable to 80% of normal weapons. Wow.
I already have that
Super
one.
useful. Oh, really?
Yeah. Does that make me 160% invulnerable?
60%. That's amazing.
All weapons now and 60% of weapons invented in the future.
A 100-yard radius is rendered totally silent until dawn tomorrow. Oh my god, my finger is magic. I snapped my finger and in-game silence happened as well. That's amazing. That's pretty cool. So basically, he's cast silence on the area. And then the last one, you feel as though you are wearing an enormous hat made of lead. It's like your hat wears heavy upon your head today. Okay, so he clicks a finger, and everyone else looks up and moves out of the room, leaving you in the silent chamber alone with Francis Urquhart. He looks quite conspiratorially towards you. My internet, goddamn. All right.
Okay. I take it you know the name.
Yes, well, I am a little too familiar with Mr. Poole's work. If you are who I think you are, perhaps you once traveled with a Mildred Crabapple.
Yes, has been an associate of ours from time to time.
Then, if she is not with you, then I must assume she is dead. Or worse.
We were separated recently. We don't know for sure.
There's some hope then, at least. My name is Francis Urquhart. I am a member of the Believers, one of the few remaining members after most of our order have been slaughtered by Mr. Poole. I work here alone. Perhaps that is what has spared me from his execution.
Oh, well, we were there when she found out. I'm sorry for what happened to your friends.
Thank you for that. Many members of my family, as I see them at least, were killed. I owe Mr. Poole a debt of vengeance. And in order to do so, I owe you my help, it would seem. The library here is yours to use, and any of my resources. I don't claim to have much. After my friends were killed, I've lost all contact with them and many of my resources alongside them. I do have a few things here that you might find useful. I understand that maybe you can't trust me just yet, but... well, sometimes you have to take a leap of faith, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Yes, a leap of faith. Yes. Well, then I guess the need for subterfuge is, if we need everything on Poole, we need to find out his weaknesses, what he plans to do, how to defeat him.
Of course. I think you may very well have come across my son. He is active in Europe, Germany specifically. You seem to recognize the name.
Yes, we have met your son. Just
Tell me.
recently.
How far gone is he?
It's hard to say. If he's speaking the truth, if his convictions are matching what he told us, then he has joined entirely with the symphony.
His face falls. I see. It is as I feared. Thank you for bringing me word about him.
I'm sorry it wasn't a better word to be brought. But these are dark times.
Indeed. Well, I've been doing some research of my own on the matter. The 10th day, when the end of the world comes, well, that's when it all begins. And it all ends. There is talk about the firstborn sons dying. I'm not clear if it is of all firstborn sons who will be taken, or one in particular. There is also talk of the father's sacrifice as well. It's unclear in these texts whether or not who exactly is to die. I'm not sure what any of this means, but I believe that our friend Mr. Poole may very well have an offspring, son, whom he either intends to execute or be executed by. I'm hoping that some of these pieces of the puzzle which I haven't been able to piece together, you may be able to help me with.
Right. So just kind of like looking over at Lewis. It's like, do we think that if we, are you saying that maybe killing Poole might actually, it could be a good thing or a really bad thing?
Yes, I'm not sure if that may be very well what he wants. Then again, it's hard to say. Look here. And he goes over to one of the books. It's like an ancient one, which he caresses with his, little white gloves to turn the page, and hands you a magnifying glass to look into it. It's written in ancient Hyperborean, which probably you guys don't read, right?
Nope, I don't read that. Although I think
Mildred does.
Yeah.
Mildred does.
Yeah, she's a member of the Believers. That's what they do. He kind of like looks a little bit frustrated, and I've translated a copy here for you, and goes into a desk drawer and kind of pulls one out very delicately and places it on the table.
Okay, begin reading it.
Yeah. What this note appears to be a translation of is some kind of ancient text which speaks not only of the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, but instead of the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, God himself sacrificed himself because he loved his son and humanity so much. So kind of a reverse narrative of what the Bible says, that Jesus Christ killed himself or sacrificed himself so that humanity's sins were cured. Whereas in this ancient book, which he doesn't have he hasn't told you where it's from, it claims that God himself offered his own body up rather than that of his sons and humanity. This text is one that I retrieved from Library of Alexandria. This is an ancient one that a cult of Ra wrote about sometime after, where historically we would place the plagues of Egypt to have happened. Now, this isn't exactly a source, if you will, but let us imagine for a moment that this cult of Ra are not just another Egyptian cult who are following their many gods. Let us imagine for a moment that the symphony have been active for a very, very long time, as long as the ancient Hyperboreans, as long as my own organization have been active. If this cult of Ra could be an early form of a symphony, perhaps what the symphony came to be, then they believe that a prophecy will come that perhaps God himself will give up his body. Now, I have not known Mr. Poole for very long. Perhaps you know more about him, but he strikes me as the kind of individual who would think himself close to a god figure.
That you are not far from the no. Yeah. I would say that.
And there's 2 wild magic surges for Sloane. Good.
What if, and I'm just throwing this out here because this is all beyond me, but what if we sacrificed both father and son?
I'm not sure what that would mean. Perhaps this would stop what is happening. But the plagues of Egypt, they always revolve around there being a price to be paid for humanity's sins. Someone sacrifice in order for humanity to be deemed worthy again of God's love. Perhaps the sacrifice of the son and the father would suffice. Or perhaps merely we have to undergo these plagues, see if we survive them. I'm not sure. Whatever Poole has planned, they've been planning for a very, very long time.
So it seems to me a sacrifice must take place. So to thwart him, we need to avoid all sacrifices, if possible. Right?
Perhaps so. Sloane's wild magic surges. Target can heal himself, but it's 5% like.
Oh, there goes the internet again. There it goes again. I'll let Will recover.
All right, god damn it. 5% likely to die each time that he heals himself.
Oh, lovely.
And to attack my internet connection. Elementals summoned in your presence are at a -2 to hit you. Also, that they have a negative, like monsters have a negative to attack you.
Yay! That's a really good one.
Now, when you heal yourself like just fully each time.
We'll see.
Well, I already have a heal that can fully heal myself.
You have like a full heal, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to sacrifice your clothes, right?
Yeah, I basically lose a bunch of sanity
I think, yeah.
and buck naked to heal myself, yes.
So, whatever Poole's planning, what does he need besides the sacrifice? He spent so much time and energy looking for a specific tomb. Mr. Urquhart, are you familiar with the tomb that Poole has been looking for?
You speak of the Necronomicon? Yes.
I do.
Yes. Let us consider for a moment what the Necronomicon may have appeared as throughout history for civilizations perhaps less advanced than ours, with a lower understanding of what science is and more faith and belief in what magic is. Magic books and magic items have appeared throughout history and in many different folklores. Take the Holy Bible, Excalibur, the Bible, a book written by God himself. In theory, right? Or at least for those of us who maybe don't believe that, written through the will of God, a holy text which tells the truth of humanity, of our own existence and who we are, what we're here for on Earth. If we consider that perhaps this Bible was something that was found, maybe an item which appeared to the ancient Hyperboreans or to the Christians or in Egypt. What if this book was in fact the Necronomicon, which was, as far as you and I know, to be a text written by Yog-Sothoth, a creature from across the worlds with infinite knowledge. This creature sees itself as God, and Martin Poole sees himself as Yog-Sothoth's body on Earth, sees himself as a god. Then perhaps they seek this book to complete whatever plague, ritual we are undergoing. On the 10th day, at the end of all time, the book will appear to him, will be summoned. The same way as the boy pulls the sword out of the stone, he who is worthy can find the item. The grail only appears to those who are true of heart. These items appear at rare times, after rituals are undergone, after you quest to find them, that sort of thing. Well, what if at the end of these 10 days the Necronomicon will appear before him, no matter where it is hidden? Mr. Sloane. He gives you a pointed look.
So does Lewis.
The book often disguises itself throughout history, appears to different people at different times. Whether it appears as a sword, as a grail, a chalice, a book, a scepter, a crown, it appears at various different times, as far as I can find out. And When it does so, it disappears from whoever else was holding it at the time and appears somewhere else for a different reason. Now, wherever you have this book hidden, Mr. Sloane, I do believe that it will shortly be gone in just a matter of days. And Mr. Poole will have it. At which time, whatever happens will happen. The son will die, the father will die. Either way, there's some apocalyptic scenario happening.
If you say this has happened, perhaps before, with a chalice, a sword, yet the world is still evolving, the world is still moving, and we survived the plagues. How is that?
In truth, I'm not sure. Although part of me would suggest, from a scholarly perspective, that they were either test runs or perhaps even part of this whole process. Perhaps they were leading up to this, the Necronomicon gaining power each time that civilization is ruined and destroyed. Yogg-Sothoth growing in power until the point that he can take form on Earth. Now, if my reports are to be believed, that may very well have happened, where the child itself walks the Earth. Now, Poole may have taken that form. He summoned it. My suggestion would be that they couldn't do it until now. Perhaps they've been waiting a very long time for just this moment. Just a theory, of course. I'm open to suggestions.
Well, we could just join him. I'm kidding. What do you suggest? Oh, it was just a silly joke. Everything seems so impossible, and I'm not an expert in dealing with these matters. So I'm open to suggestions.
Well, one suggestion would be that we destroy the book somehow. Try and find a way to, instead of sending it to a different location or hiding it away, we try and get rid of it. Or we 50-50 it and we see if we can find the son and kill him and see what happens, or find Poole and kill him. Or both.
Like kill them before the ritual can take place?
Perhaps, yes. This son, whoever he is almost certainly nigh on undefeatable, very difficult to kill, perhaps having been resurrected several times. Someone like Poole himself, whom, against all the odds, somehow survives. Kept alive by Poole's energy, and by the Necronomicon itself, which will not let him go.
Oh, I've never heard of Poole having a son. Do you know who he is?
I'm afraid I don't.
Well, then killing the son doesn't seem like an easy solution at the moment. What
Fair
about
enough.
the book? You said we could destroy the book? Is that even possible?
I don't know. Perhaps it is. I've never really looked into the matter itself. It's something we'd have to research on. Usually, the book disappears for a long time and reappears somewhere later in history. Never truly destroyed, but perhaps in theory. The book holds the key to all knowledge, does it not? Surely that knowledge must include how to destroy the book itself. The problem being that we humans are too malleable, too weak to do such a thing. We crave power, all of us in some regard. We have a weakness which the book exploits, as our minds are destroyed by the book. It's a defense mechanism of the book itself, I believe, to keep itself alive.
That it does.
Mr. Sloane, you've become acquainted with the book. I'm curious, how deep did you dive into it? How much did you read? Surely you must know something that you're not telling us.
And why do you assume that?
Well, frankly, I knew you before. I knew that you were capable of magic. I knew that you hid the book.
Mm-hmm.
We've been to your little pocket realm. We know a little bit about you. But what I don't know is what exactly happened to you. When you held the book in your hands, you opened it up, you read its pages. What did you learn?
I learned when I took hold of the Necronomicon and I peered into the first word of that book, I realized then that this is a book that should never be in the hands of a mortal. This book will corrupt the very purest of people. So I held the Necronomicon for a few years, yes, that is true. And I took every precaution to read it. A word, maybe a single letter a week. I took every possible precaution to avoid insanity. And according to you, I failed because of that. So you see, for the years that I actually had it, I did not read much of it at all. Maybe half a page, maybe more, but not much at all. The precautions were drastic, and reading it was exhausting. That was the only reason I was able to wield it for so long. So no, Anchor, I did not discover how to destroy the Necronomicon.
Now one must look for such information and search specifically for it if the texts are to be believed. And indeed, as Mr. Sloane says, we are all weak, we're all corruptible. Does not the Bible say that there was a snake which deceived Adam and Eve, and perhaps this is a symbol for the Necronomicon itself? Perhaps that's merely me looking into things too much, but certainly whoever were to look into this would lose their mind. To seek this knowledge, perhaps be lost to us entirely, perhaps be lost to themselves entirely as well. And who knows what happens if the book were to be destroyed. Perhaps the destruction of the book would lead to even greater cataclysmic events than we could even imagine. Perhaps hiding it away is the only option, but I'm just spitballing here, as there are a great deal of moving parts right now, and well, I'm not sure what any of the answers truly are. That's the problem with many of these texts, are they do not say how to stop such events. They are open to the interpretation of those who read them.
There is one thing. Everything I read, everything I did, was reading on previous occult knowledge, occult books, occult literature, cults themselves. I never once thought and stopped to look for the answers with religion, religious books, religious texts. Perhaps the answer lies there.
That is a very astute assumption to make, Mr. Sloane. But many religious books speak about the destruction of artifacts and items which are considered unholy. And perhaps the same goes for those items which are incredibly holy as well. Perhaps these magical items can be destroyed in similar manners. That may very well be something worth us looking into. Often religions are indeed home to actual shamans and wielders of magic themselves, those who have seen into the beyond, while we see them as being, old wives' tales and the like. There is some very strong evidence to believe that the Romans themselves had an understanding of Druidism, taught to them by the Hyperboreans, who eventually migrated to... He goes on and on about...
He raises a hand. Tell me about the Hyperboreans. What kind of people were they?
My ancestors, the believers. We are a group who, we believe in the Hyperboreans, as much of history has disregarded our texts. They were a group of people who predate, first of all, Christianity and predates the flood. If one were to perhaps believe that before God created humans, or before we believe that humans were first walking Earth, there were a group of people who had already come here. Whether or not they were local to Earth, or perhaps they had traveled from somewhere else, is up to debate. My personal belief is that the Hyperboreans were a group of travelers, nomads, if you will, who traveled between various different worlds, not like yourselves, I believe, may have done some time hopping yourselves. They came to Earth and they settled there before it was believed by our history books that they possibly could have. They've left behind us various different items and artifacts which we look to be as being magic, because they come from their own world, one which we perhaps couldn't even imagine. We would see as being alien and unfathomable. Something happened to the Hyperboreans. They either brought something with them or something found them, and they were destroyed. Now, what if it was the Necronomicon that they found? What if this was the first occurrence where the Necronomicon found its way to Earth, or perhaps even traveled with them, and has begun to corrupt our world over the course of the past few thousand of years? Nothing was left of the people, only that which was left behind of them. So long ago is it that there is barely any evidence, bones or anything like that, to point conclusively towards them. But those of us who believe, well, we see evidence where perhaps others do not.
So, you would imagine these Hyperboreans would have a knowledge that surpasses our own with such matters, yes?
Correct.
And you say there are traces of these items they left behind, literature.
Indeed. Long has it been my dream to speak with these groups of people, for perhaps they were the only ones who would know how to communicate fully with an item such as the Necronomicon. Perhaps they would possess such knowledge. Alas.
Then perhaps the Hyperboreans hold the answer and the item to assist us. If
So
deep enough.
We have but a few days, Mr. Sloane. I've been doing a fair amount of research here myself. I'm not sure what we can turn up in just 2 days.
I have a wild idea. Seth, you are also familiar with the book. You see, we have seen a vision of this future that Martin Poole wishes to bring about. We were there for a time. But Seth, you brought us back through time. Yes?
It's true. Yeah, I'm muted.
That's weird. Sorry.
Yes, I read the book. I brought us back. It was terrible, but also exhilarating. That power. I remember some of it.
If that could be done, thank you, Dave. If that could be done, and let's say for a moment that I believe you, as is my faith, could it be done again?
Could we go back?
Possess the book? Right.
Find the time where the Hyperboreans found the book, seek their knowledge, and perhaps we can stop all of this before it ever began.
He gets a very excited look upon his face. It's like, yeah, yes. Perhaps they hold the answers, but we don't have the book. He looks towards Mr. Sloane.
So does Lewis.
And then Seth follows suit.
He raises an eyebrow at Seth, and Seth, you do realize what would happen to you should you peek at the Necronomicon again.
Yes, I do.
There would be no second chance. No coming back. That would be
But if we
it.
stop this, then I will have used what power I could to divert a great evil.
And
I
if
would be
it
remembered.
fails, and it doesn't divert a great evil, then you would have sacrificed your mind for nothing.
Let us consider this, Mr. Sloane. We know that the end of the world comes in 2 days' time. I'm fairly certain that whatever is going to happen is on a collision course to happen. Either the sun will die, Mr. Poole will die, but one way or another, the book is going to appear to him, and he will use it. If we consider that right now there is nothing we can do other than this one option, then yes, perhaps we will lose our minds in the doing so. Perhaps we will cause calamity in the doing, but we know that if we are to do nothing, then the end of the world is nigh. Perhaps it is worth trying and risking our minds, for we will be dead anyway, or worse. You have seen the future, Mr. Sloane. If it is as bad as you say it is, then perhaps it would be worse to live through that than to die trying.
As long as
I don't want to be trapped as a prisoner in my own library, where I am both prisoner and warden. I can't do that again.
If we fix this, if this works, there is a version of each of us that will never know the horrors that we have seen.
we are assuming that Seth just loses his mind. The Necronomicon is capable of so much worse. Yes, perhaps myself and you, Banker, we go back to a normal life that we don't know what has happened. Seth, he could spend eternity in agony inside himself, inside the book. I just wish Seth to know the full extent of what he is offering to do.
Sloane, I have spent eternity in agony within myself. I have already experienced that. And it is the end that we are marching towards. It is the ultimate defeat. If I can just but turn the tide just a little and prevent that, I'm willing to do that. Sorry, my cat broke my concentration.
Seth, if something terrible happens, if you go to a place where you cannot escape, cannot return within your own mind, I won't let you suffer. I don't think I've ever had a true friend in my entire life. Men like me, we can't afford to, really. That's all he says.
Well, Mr. Delgado, all we've been through, I'd like to call you friend. I think that you would do right by me should the worst befall me. I believe you.
Mr. Earcard, do you have a supply of laudanum?
Yes, I do. Come here. And he dives into a desk and he draws out some laudanum, just a vial of it, and also hands both you and Seth a set of rosary beads. And he says, these will help, I believe, with the transportation, if you will.
And this is all the laudanum you possess?
I'm afraid my supplies are low ever since. Well, ever since.
Is there anything else you can offer us?
One thing. And he goes and finds a small wheel of cheese, which he hands to Mr. Delgado. Where you're going, food is not plentiful. This restores itself. In the worst situations where you get trapped somewhere, at least you won't starve to death.
Why, Mr. Urquhart, how did you know? And takes the cheese, looking very hungry. And he'll tear off a little piece. And
Oh god, he's going to be like high 24/7 now, is he?
All day, every day.
Very well then. If you would give me some chalk and some
Of course.
privacy, I will conduct the ritual.
He goes and like closes the door to down here and hands you some chalk to begin your ritual.
Am I alone?
I mean, there's like the three of you plus Urquhart here. If you want to be in like completely isolated, he can give you a private room.
I wish to be completely isolated.
Okay, very well. He'll show you into a little private chamber here.
Okay. Okay, so Sloane starts doing the ritual to open up the portal.
Okay. Underneath this line in chat, you guys are going to tell me, where'd they end up?
I mean, well, the idea was for me to go through and come back with it, not everyone come through.
Oh, don't worry.
That's what Sloane is thinking.
Don't you worry. All right. So you do that. What are
Don.
Lewis and Seth? What are you guys doing? While Sloane is like in his private chamber, you guys are still with Urquhart.
Seth would actually probably, seeing that this guy's a fellow scholar, he would break out his volume of, volume 7 of the Glar key, and just go through that with him. And be like,
Could this possibly maybe help us? I mean, I can supposedly contact Glar Key with this. Never wanted to.
Goodness. Well, perhaps that would be an option. I don't know too much about Glarkey myself, but it appears to be an aspect or a son of Yog-Sothoth.
Well, if he's a son, then perhaps maybe, possibly he could be the sacrifice, right?
Perhaps. I believe it is the firstborn son. So perhaps not, but
That is true.
there's nothing to say that couldn't be the case, I suppose. Maybe that is the firstborn son. Maybe Glarkey is the son that we've been searching for.
Well, we have seen him born into the world.
Seth just kind of mentions.
Excuse me?
It was a while back, but we were attacked by an aspect of Glarkey after he was summoned.
Really?
I mean, Banker, you remember that awful night? The Brophies in the motel?
There were others who summoned this creature.
Yes.
A set of brothers. Yes.
Very unsettling men. They like to, they were intimate with one another.
They had a strong family bond.
I see.
They were also intimate with Mildred.
He looks
And
like
she
suddenly
gave birth to a child.
he looks suddenly very like, holy shit, what?
Not to bury the lead, but
oh, he like starts rummaging through books, and he's like, "The disciples. Mary Magdalene, familiar?"
I've heard the name, I think, somewhere.
Ever heard? Okay, either a wonderful supporter of Jesus Christ, perhaps a prostitute. Tough to say. Either way, there's some talk about her once having a child. Perhaps this being the child of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene is all conjecture and silliness. Historically, very little evidence to prove such a matter. Why?
Yes, supposedly they went to France. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a terrible book. But why would they do such a thing? Why would they? She bore a child.
Well, then is that not the bloodline of God? Would that not be something you'd want to keep under wraps? You had a sibling of Jesus, assuming this is real and he is the Son of God.
Presumably, yes. She bore a child of Yog-Sothoth.
Maybe Glararki? I'm not sure exactly. She's very old, and her pregnancy only lasted for a few days. And it was witnessing it. Martin Poole was there, and it was all very, very disgusting.
Oh dear.
But wasn't she giving birth to like the fish things though? Wasn't Glararki already there? So that means Glararki came before what she gave birth to. Right?
In the future, she was the mother to an entire race of abominations.
Ah, I see. That is disturbing. Glararki being an aspect of Yog-Sothoth, he has thousands of children. I think the link there is less strong, but Paul certainly would see himself as Yog-Sothoth on Earth, particularly if he has brought a child into the world. Most likely, he has devoured this child, so that it has become him, and he is Yog-Sothoth on Earth, making him God, and his child being the embodiment of Jesus Christ, whoever his son is the firstborn son who must die or kill him. You don't have any idea who that might be, do you?
No, none at all. If we find the fellow, though, what do you think we should do?
Well, we would need to speak to him and explain some of this to him. It may be that he has no idea of what's going on. He may be in imminent danger. And certainly, if we were to put him into any kind of dangerous situation, we must protect him at all costs, not let him out of our sight.
I feel the need to go check on our friend, Mr. Sloane. I just want to make sure he's all right.
Interesting.
And he'll start off towards where Sloane's room is, and he'll mention aside to Seth. Remind me sometime, if we make it through this, to tell you about my theory of why procreation should cease entirely. No procreation at all. I believed this before I ever met you, but after everything we've experienced, I feel even more certain that human beings should stop procreating entirely. I'll tell you another time.
My son is certainly been a disappointment.
More Coke. Then you couldn't sell Coke.
You check in on the room, and Sloane is gone.
I should have seen that coming. That's exactly what he did last time.
He's gone?
It
yes.
really is what happened last time, isn't it? Yep. Yeah,
Well,
We
let's.
went through a portal and
Oh.
doesn't want anybody to get their hands on the book. I'm beginning to
I
not
had a-
trust Sloane.
yeah.
At least he's not the firstborn son.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Right.
He looks
said
at you again. Right?
Sure. I mean, who knows anymore? It's all crisscrossed and crazy.
I'm not even sure what timeline we're in right now, actually. So, who knows?
Quite insane. If you know something about Sloane, you should tell me.
After having a long conversation with this fellow, Urquhart, how on the up and up? Can I make a psychology roll and
You're on me a
see how
psychology,
on,
Yeah, Seth has like the third wave of flop sweat that has occurred in the last like 10 minutes. And is just like drowning. Just like he just keeps looking at Lewis. It's like
I have no more
Lewis
hankies
failed.
left.
Lewis fails his psychology roll?
As far as you can tell, this Urquhart guy he's been helpful so far. He's certainly, if he is like an agent of the symphony, gone a long way to deceiving you all.
So I think I should tell you, there's a small chance, or maybe a much larger chance, that Sloane is the son of Martin Poole.
It's closer to like yeah, closer to is.
I would
than
say
maybe.
100. Yeah, yes.
I mean, on a 1 to 100 scale, yeah, probably 100.
Probably.
Right. Of course it is. Of course. We've just sent him into the lion's den. Alone.
Wow. Well, but yeah,
To fetch the book.
yeah.
He
Yeah.
likes it there, though. He's used to it.
He is very secretive, I have to say. The cards might as well be tattooed on his chest. That's how close he plays them. So
And he's you're certain of this. He's almost unkillable. Yeah, he knows where the Necronomicon is. He's protected the book, keeper of the. He has people who follow
yeah.
him and protect him, disciples, if you will. Yes.
Well, yeah, we've traveled with him, seen him die before, and he's
And
here.
there have been various other groups who have traveled with him who have died or gone missing.
I mean,
I think
if
he's
you
worked
believe
for
all the
Caligula
stories,
for a while, and
Maybe around 11 or 12 of them.
yeah, I mean, all these facts are starting to line up. When you say them all out loud together, it
we
seems
really
a
should
lot more
have
obvious.
brought you along from the beginning. I feel like if we had started with you, we would be doing much better right now.
And Poole planted him into Caligula so that all of this would happen. All these various different bands that have died alongside him, and he's traveled with to find the Necronomicon, leading to precisely this moment in 2 days' time.
An argument could be made, yes, for that to be the case. Oh, God.
Well, that's interesting. Now we just have to
In our
figure out
defense-
which one of you is Judas.
In our defense, sir, you could say that maybe I was when the last time I might have tried to get the Necronomicon from him. But in our defense, you are technically one of the first people that has actually been helpful to us. So, on behalf of my banker friend, sorry for not trusting you sooner. Everyone else seems to already be in the symphony's pocket, or
Yes, I
Crazy.
understand. They have a way of losing one's faith in humanity when you deal with them. So, this is problematic on a number of levels. We've just sent Sloane somewhere, ancient Hyperborea, which could very well be incredibly dangerous for him, or it could be precisely what Poole wants. Either way, in 2 days' time, something very bad may very well happen to Mr. Sloane. He either will die, be sacrificed for humanity, or he will kill God and reign, becoming Yog-Sothoth on Earth, or as a whole. Tell me, while we're being honest with one another, has young Mr. Sloane, has he ever spoken of Yog-Sothoth speaking to him, or hearing someone he may refer to as Grandfather Whispers? Often is another name he's referred to.
It's come
Yes.
up once or twice.
Of course. Of course. Could you recount any of the conversations that he may have had with this grandfather?
Oh, I'm trying to remember that vision we had. Something along the lines of, I am your grandfather, and look after this book for me, please. It's an important book, and one day something will happen with this book.
Right, and none of this seemed particularly important to you at the time, presumably.
Oh, everything seems important. It's just all a little bit overwhelming. I'm just a banker.
Yeah. I'm a book dealer, but reading about it and experiencing things of the sort firsthand, it's a big divide. So I didn't really believe him at first, but
right. So, when we can surmise from this a couple of things, when Judgment Day comes in a few days' time, Mr. Sloane, yes, is the harbinger of this. Perhaps unknowingly, unwittingly, Poole has set up this whole thing over the course of Mr. Sloane's life, and perhaps over the course of the last few thousand years, for this future which you have seen. My, he is a clever gentleman, isn't he? You had a question for me, Mr. Delgado.
Oh, yes. So Sloane has gone. Do you have the means that might allow us to follow in his tread?
Yes, I suppose I do. I suppose I do. Give me some time. And he gets the chalk that he handed Sloane and starts drawing a pentagram in the floor over the course of the next 20 minutes or so. At this point, there is a knock on the door whilst he's finishing this off. He looks up. No one should be here.
Seth pulls out his copy of The Art of War.
Do you want us to check? So you keep going,
Yes,
Mr.
I'll
Banker.
Oh, God.
Want to see if someone's here to make a deposit?
Yes, why don't we? And he eases his shotgun out from his jacket, his sawed-off shotgun, and he'll approach the door.
Seth will slip out his Derringer from his book and put it back. Make sure it's loaded.
Hello, who's out there?
You hear silence for half a second or so, a split second, and then you hear a voice say, "It's me. Came to check on you guys."
It's who? Name, please.
Morris.
I don't remember.
And the door explodes. Roll me a dexterity check, please.
Oof. I'm a nat 20 that.
That's a good idea.
I will chance it.
Support this decision.
Hard success.
Nice. You guys manage to get back just in time as you hear that name. As the door is blown off its hinges, and you'll watch as the skull-masked gentleman Morris steps into the room, and he does not look pleased to see you. The explosion blows the hinges off the door, and Urquhart finishes his chanting and finishes his chalk circle. He says, get inside, quick!
Oh, God.
Go, Seth, go.
Seth will run. He's going to just kind of like fire blindly as he's just kind of firing back towards the explosion with his derringer as he begins to very awkwardly run towards Urquhart.
All right, give me a shot here.
Yeah, it's a miss.
Okay, yeah, you kind of fire up a little shot with the derringer, which goes wide as you're retreating, not really looking at where you're shooting. As Morris and his sort of like death guard enter into the room. Lewis, you're headed straight to Urquhart?
So did Seth run through the portal?
The portal is opening up as Urquhart is kind of like holding up, similar to the red tear that you've entered into before. It looks like he's using all of his concentration and effort, and he's just like standing still there. Go through, quick!
Did Seth make it, or is that next turn for Seth?
Seth, you and Seth, if you guys are diving in, can roll me dex checks to get in time before Morris has a chance to shoot.
A nat 20 that.
Good idea.
So Lewis is backing up a little bit, and as soon as he sees Seth dive through the portal, is Urquhart like holding open the portal, or is the portal open?
He is. Yeah, he's like holding it open.
He's going to look to Morris and say to him, Morris, please, tell Martin that I've got this. And then he turns and jumps through the portal himself.
All right. As the two of you jump in through the portal, you'll hear a loud shot of the pistol and a spattering of blood as Morris shoots Urquhart through the back of his head. His brains explode outwards, and the two of you dive into the portal just as it is sealed up. We're going to cut to our friend now, a good friend, Mr. Sloane, who's previously had a little bit of teleportation. Thank you, Fidel. 2 nat 20s for Seth. That's exactly what he needs right now, I think. Sloane, you've stepped in through the your own portal, Deciphering, and where are you trying to go?
To my own little pocket dimension where I kept the Necronomicon hidden.
All right. You find the room there again, sort of simple little room, and there is your desks, papers everywhere, books everywhere, and looks just like you left it.
Okay. Necronomicat still there?
Sure is.
Yeah. Sloane will enter and gently pat the cat, and he'll somewhat go to his desk and sit down and sigh. Time is strange in this pocket dimension, it's not the same in reality. So Sloane knows he's got a bit of time, and he'll just sit, just staring at the small photo frame of his past companions and give a small sigh, wishing that they were with him at the moment. As he just sits back and leans in the chair, his hands start to shake, and he picks up a book and just throws it to the ground and tips up his chair, and he just goes, "Ah!" Then shakes it, and he kind of leans up against a bookcase and goes, "Not now, Matthew," and kind of recomposes himself and walks on over to his desk, and he pulls open a drawer, and the drawer looks completely empty, nothing there, but as he delves his hand into it, it goes past the wood that's almost an illusion and pulls out the Necronomicon and kind of throws it onto the desk in front of him, and he's almost shaking. The very sight of it really does bother him. He gets a bit of laudanum and he takes a sip quickly, puts it in his pocket. He grasps hold of the rosary beads and puts it around his neck. He sighs, he picks up the book, tucks it under his arm, and then goes to open the portal to return.
Okay. You hear a little whisper as you pick up the book, a familiar whisper which you've heard before but has been absent for a little while, that of your grandfather. Ah, yes, welcome back, Sloane. I know you'd be back.
I am somewhat busy.
Oh, yes. Not a lot of time left now, just a few days until we're together again.
Yes. You still haven't told me what together is.
Well, I suppose it's time for me to be a little bit more candid with you, Sloane. You're me and I am you. And I have one on this world who's bringing that to pass. Mr. Poole. He is merely a pawn that thinks himself more useful than he really is. You see, you are me, Sloane, and I am you. He may very well have birthed you, made you come to life, but I'm inside of you. And you and me, we're the most important people there are, Sloane. There's nothing that can stop us. So you may think that he will rule as God, but he's wrong. It is the Son who is God, Sloane. It is us. And that's why we're going to kill him. You and I. You see, God sacrificing his child. Selfish. Should be the other way around. The Son should kill the Father. And then we'll wipe away humanity's sins together. I can tell you already.
If I do this, will it truly be me? Or will it just be you? Doing your...
We are the same, Sloane.
No.
We think that you have your own identity, but you don't. You are me, and I am you.
I don't want to kill innocent people. I don't want godly power or anything like that. I just want everyone to be safe. Away from all of this.
I used to be just like you, Sloane. Before I found the truth, before I found the gateway, I was just like you, looking to help everyone. You know, I've never hurt anyone. I never shot a pistol. I never stabbed a man. Never even wielded one. No. I was just like you, and I found the answer. I wrote the book through the gateway. There is paradise to be restored to the world as it once was. As I wrote about in my garden. We can bring that paradise to pass. When I am you, and you and me, 2 days' time, there'll be no more harm anymore. No more pain.
Your version of paradise.
Our version.
Ours. And what if I don't kill Poole? What if I refuse?
I will make you.
And
Do not be so
Sloane,
naive as to think that you can betray me.
and as he says, I can make you, Sloane's face just goes white as all the blood just drains from it. So, tell me what happens in 2 days. Tell me the ritual.
Book summons the pool, as are all of the disciples and all those involved. There is a reckoning, and the course of fate is changed forever. Paradise comes. One will live, one will die. It's up for us to decide.
What do you mean by disciples?
Have there not been those who have traveled with you all your life, Sloane? Those who have accompanied you, protected you, followed you, looked to you for guidance and spirituality.
I mean, yes, they. And he'll look to the desk with the picture on them, and he'll look back. What's going to happen to them?
They believe as well. So, they are your disciples, your chosen ones. You chose them. And therefore so have I. They will be with us. Paradise again.
This future that my disciples saw, is that your version of paradise? Is that the paradise that you were talking about?
That is what Earth will look like once we have discarded the parts which make it hateful. But there will no longer be Pool. You see, I showed him what he wanted to see. He wanted to see himself blasted up on huge blimps, huge cities dedicated to his worship. He's useful that way when he believes that he's going to get what he wants. But you're what I want, Sloane. There cannot be two kings in heaven. No. Satan is cast down from heaven. We will rule as kings with our disciples, and we will make of Earth and every other planet whatever it is we wish of it.
And Sloane's face kind of goes down in a slight smile on the corner. He says, and Pool will suffer?
Oh, yes. He will be cast out from our heaven like Satan, the fallen angel. Back down to Earth to cause misery, as I sent him before. Perhaps we'll let him rule over that world. Perhaps the other planets we'll rule over we'll call heaven, and Earth we'll call purgatory or hell, where Satan can rule in all of his misery. Perhaps that's an even crueler fate, a more fitting one for one such as Pool.
Sloane gives a big smile at that, almost like something deep within is just really pleased about the idea of Pool being in eternal torment. But it's quickly stopped when Sloane bashes his hand against the wall at sight. My mind is still my own. For now. In 2 days' time, we will see what will be. Until then, my fate is my own. And he'll walk through the portal.
Believe what you will.
You step through the portal,
and are gone from this room. You do not, however, appear back where you once came. Instead, you find yourself with Lewis and Seth, and you're on a cool plain. It looks like a desert, in fact, as you guys have traveled as well. Of course, you are not with Urquhart, who is behind, back on Earth and most likely dead. However, something has brought Sloane here as well. Sloane, you were on a path back to jolly old England. However, it seems like Grandfather Whispers has other plans for you. And the three of you appear here. It's clearly Earth. You can clearly see your sun and clearly see your moon. However, this is a much hotter place, certainly than England, and it's incredibly hot around here. In the distance, you can see a city which appears to be floating upside down in the sky. For those of you who have seen this vision of the future, this looks to be akin to the great city of books that Seth once ruled over. Great pyramids of reversed gravity, essentially. And it's way in the future, in the distance rather, way just about where your eyes can see across the heat haze. But it is clearly here.
Slow.
Why are we here?
Where's here?
Should we not be back in London?
Well, we came to find you because you ran off.
I went.
Should have
to
seen
get
it coming.
I went to get the Necronomicon, and to return.
Oh. And did you get it? Do you have it?
He raises an eyebrow, and you can't physically see the Necronomicon on him, and he goes, I have it, yes.
Well, good. Then it doesn't matter where we are. Our plan still stands. We use the book to go back and meet the Hyperboreans. Right?
Grandfather Whispers says to you, Sloane, we're already here. I've made things easier for you. I can help you read it.
So
Not quite sure that is a good idea at this present moment. Whatever.
Do you still believe that your mind is your own? Do you still believe that I can't control you?
Whatever force sent me here, wants me here, to do what we're already doing. So perhaps we should not do it. I assure you, I sent a portal back to London, not here.
I mean, we were just following you, so I guess we followed you here, but
How did you get here?
Urquhart, he used some sort of spell or ritual. He's dead now, unfortunately.
How?
Oh, yes.
Did the ritual kill him?
No, it was the symphony. They arrived, and we had to run for our lives.
it was Morris again.
Morris.
He is one of Martin Poole's right-hand men, a military, ex-military man.
Oh, we killed him.
Yes, but now we have gone back in time, and everything we did then is undone. And that is why we are here now. No matter what brought us here and what it wants, we have the potential to make a different choice for the human race, one that will reshape the world and make it safer, free it from what's happening in our time. I understand your trepidation, Sloane, but this is the only plan. We are all here.
I feel perhaps we should stick with the plan of finding a way to destroy the Necronomicon. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we should.
And Will, you said that there was something in the distance?
Looks like the
Just over
city
the
which
horizon.
defies gravity is on the horizon.
Well, perhaps we should start there.
Kind of points at that city.
If we're gonna get any if we're gonna get any answers from the unknown, it would be in an impossible city.
We need to have a story. If we meet these Hyperboreans, we all need to have the same story. Where are we from? Why are we here?
They will know
I
you
don't think
when you
we
come.
should
They will
trust.
recognize you. He's
I
like
have a
whispering the
feeling-
whole time
yeah.
you guys are talking.
I have a feeling they will know who we are.
But we can't tell them that we want to destroy the book, just in case they are opposed to that. We still have to learn how to do it, though.
Yes.
They tried before and failed. So will you.
Considering none of us read Hyperborean, I think we're gonna need their help. Don't you?
I wish Mildred were here. She would be able to read the Hyperborean.
Me too.
I can bring her here if you like. I have her right now.
And he turns to one side and don't harm her.
Who
As
are
a
you
friend of
talking
yours
to?
was keen of saying, do no harm.
What about Father Carmine?
Oh, he's here too. They
I
keep
want
very
them
good
both.
company.
I want them
Of
both
course.
here.
Anything for you, son.
Sloane, are you alright?
And he turns to look. I'm calling in reinforcements.
Can you
And
bring
you-
here?
You guys will watch as Mildred and Father Carmine step
Wait,
through
don't bring the...
a portal. And at that point, we're going to end tonight's show as the party are reunited once again. Even Father Carmine, despite someone's wishes. Oh, awesome stuff. Great stuff, my friends. That's where we're going to end tonight's session. Hopefully you guys enjoyed yourselves, and those guys in chat watching along, hopefully you had a fun time as well. Thank you guys for all the crazy donations, as always, helping me to make Paul even more powerful than he should be, and Wild Magic Cheese. I appreciate it. Of course, if you enjoyed tonight's session, let us know. If you haven't caught up on the rest of the episodes, check it out on the YouTube's The Doors to Darkness playlist is up there. And of course, stick around because we've got Warhammer Beneath Dark Boughs coming up in just a few minutes' time. But let's go around the cast and crew. Did we enjoy ourselves? And of course, where can we find you guys online? Tom, great job tonight as Sloane. How was that?
That was incredible. The fact that I can bless people in the future is going to be great. That I'm going to have a whole religion base off me. And people are going to be eating a lot of crackers in my name. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Honestly, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. The story is just so... The way you weave it in and out, Will, I don't know how you do it. I really don't know. Really don't. And considering you started this episode with "Let's wing it," that's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. But I can't wait till next week. I really can't. It's going to be great to have the whole gang back together because, the other two pissed Will off because they didn't arrive, so they're dead. So we'll see if we can res them in time. But it's just I'm so excited. I can't wait to see where this goes. I'm loving playing Sloane. Poor Sloane. But yeah. Myself, I'm Redundant UK. I stream on Twitch. Just search for Redundant UK. I'm also on Twitter, redundant_UK, and I'm also part of a website/podcast called larpbook.com. Everything you want to know about LARP, live action role playing, stuff like that, get onto it. You can check me out in the chat, or most likely on Discord now, because that's where I'm hanging out a lot more. So if you want to chat about weird conspiracy theories of Doors to Darkness and about this game, get on the Discord, and we'll share all our theories and crazy thoughts. Yep, that's it.
Absolutely. Loving the Call of Cthulhu memes in the Discord at the moment, so good job, you guys. Great stuff. Don, same questions, my friend.
Yeah, I love this episode. It started off a slow burn. We spent a lot of time in the library, but I really do feel like for the first time this season, I'm starting to maybe understand what's actually happening. And I love all the tie-ins to religion, but like the change, I mean, it's just a really cool story. I missed our friends, but I feel like got away with a couple of things because they weren't here, so that's cool too. And I'm looking forward to checking out Ancient Hyperborea, see some Hyperboreans face to face. I don't think we've actually ever met one in any of our games. Their name gets dropped all the time, but now we actually get to check them out, and I'm sure they'll be totally cool. I'm sure they'll be nice guys and we'll get along great. You can follow me on Twitter at Donovan Fry. I tweet about different games I play and things I write. This is actually my only game this week because of Gen Con and everybody being at Gen Con. I will be at Gen Con here soon as well. So if you see me at Gen Con, just say hello. I'd love to meet you.
Awesome. Great stuff, Don. And yes, we're just 2 episodes left of Doors to Darkness. Next week is the penultimate episode. Judgment Day is coming, my friends, in just 2 days' time. Awesome. And last but not least, Pruitt.
Well, as always, you continue to weave very intricate tale, and as always, it seems with Call of Cthulhu, it's only at the very end can you actually grasp the whole mosaic of what has been laid out before you. I absolutely love this game. I love it so much. Seth is such a great character to play. I can't wait to see what happens moving forward. But I am Pruitt. I'm one half of WebDM. We will have a video coming out a little bit later today, probably. If it's not already out, I don't know. I've been kind of dark on social media. But, we also have our games be coming back next week after Gen Con with my game on Tuesday, Starward Bound. Go ahead and send your clips in to RPG, and we're not going to have one this week, but we will have a big episode next week with kind of like a big Gen Con review and all that fun stuff. But yeah, until next week, we'll see you then. But Will, I'll see you in like 2 minutes. So
2 minutes time.
It's a Warhammer.
It's a Warhammer, yes, my friends. So stick around for that in just a couple of minutes time here. And until next time, my friends, try not to roll too many nat ones because Pool wants to be laughing when you do. Good night, everyone. Bye. Tell your friends if they don't turn up to your games.